What up? What up? What up? It's your boy back again. You already know Marlo knows boxing and Marlo knows basketball. Back at y'all with another one. Man, I just had to come here, man, and just try to school a lot of people that that tend to want to rank these these older players like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and take what they did for face value. This video is not a knock against them, but it's just a video of context to put things into proper context. Wilt Chamberlain, George Mikan, Bill Russell, guys like this, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, guys that spent the majority of their careers before 1970 should not be ranked in the GOAT on all-time great list. Players like Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, George Mikan, Pete Maravich, Bob Cousy, guys like this should not be ranked on all-time great lists, man. I mean, it's not their fault, but I mean, you played in an era where there were only 8 teams in the league. 8 teams. There were 8 teams in the league. Wilt Chamberlain, when he's pulling off these great statistical feats where he's averaging 50 points a game and getting 100 points in a game, 50 rebounds in a game. Bill Russell, when he's winning 11 championships, 5 MVPs, and all these unbelievable accolades that these guys got and these unbelievable stats that they achieved. I can't rank it in all time as far as all time because there was only 8 teams, so there was only 8 different starting centers that Wilt Chamberlain had to go against, and most of them were nowhere near his size. The skill level was the skill level in the defense was so uncomplexed, it ain't even funny. Like, look at this. Like, guys, look how this guy is shooting his free throws right now. Like, this is like the infancy of the NBA. The NBA back then was like a rec league. It was like 24-hour fitness. Even worse. When you made the play, if you a top team going into the playoffs and you a number 1 seed or a number 2 seed, you didn't even have to worry about playing the first round. You just got to bye. So you only had to play 2 rounds of the playoffs. 2 rounds? And you expect me to rank that the same way that players that are having to play 4 rounds, 7-game series against 32 teams, 30 teams, even 28 teams. I mean, come on, man. 8 teams? That's ridiculous. And I know a lot of people will say, well, if you're a top seed, it's a foregone conclusion. Well, if it's a foregone conclusion, what happened to the Bucks this year in 2023 when they lost in the first round to the Miami Heat? If it's a foregone conclusion. If it's a foregone conclusion, Dallas Mavericks were the number 1 seed, won 60-plus games, going against an 8th seed, Golden State Warriors, led by Baron Davis. Steven Jackson was on that team. Matt Barnes and them boys. It's supposed to be a foregone conclusion. You got Dirk, the MVP of that season. I believe Avery Johnson might have been the coach of the year. And they lost in the first round against the 8th seed Warriors. So how are you telling me that it should count the same way if you getting a bye in the first round? Bill Russell, for all 11 of those championships, he never had to play a first round of the playoffs, I don't think. So, like, how can you rank him and say that put his 11 up against Jordan's 6 when Jordan always had to play the first round of the playoffs and Russell didn't? And Jordan's playing against 28, 30 teams in the league. 28, 30 different teams with 28, 30 different schemes. Bill Russell is only playing against 8. And Bill Russell only averaged 18 points a game for his career on like 47% true shooting, which is terrible. You're only averaging 18 points a game, and you can only your true shooting is only 47%. When I look back to that era of the Jerry West, Bill Russell, and George Mikan, guys like that, when they were in their prime, Wilt Chamberlain, when they were in their prime, like, the skill level was so low, bro. Like, if a player was right-handed, they could only dribble with their right hand. If they were left-handed, they could only dribble with their left hand. I learned how to dribble with both hands by the time I was 12 years old. I could dribble with both hands and finish with both hands and do everything. I can go left the same way I could go right. These guys back then, they could only go one way. And that was started. These are great players. Like, Oscar Robertson was a right-hand bandit. Jerry West was a right-hand bandit. Like, these guys couldn't go left. I mean, you looking at these highlights, like, come on, man. Come on, man. And you're going to rank these guys on the all-time GOAT list? I know and it's not their fault. They can only play against who they can play against. But come on now. Like, you just have to give things context. Like, how can you put these guys up against players that played in the 80s, 90s, 2000s now, when there was only 8 teams back then? And again, I'm not blaming them. It's not their fault, but you got to put it in context. Like, how can I rank these guys as all-time greats when you had weird stuff going on like that? Top seeds getting buys, so they don't have to play the first round of the playoffs. You have players like Bill Russell who are playing on the team. You're playing on the team and you're the coach at the same time. Like, that's rec league stuff. Like, you see stuff like that happening in rec leagues. So how are we supposed to ignore that? Like, the NBA was doing rec league stuff. It was damn near a rec league. Guys had jobs. They're going back to their plumbing jobs or working in a deli or driving a bus once the season is over. It's like... So, I mean, you're literally, like, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, all them guys were literally playing against plumbers and electricians and bus drivers, cab drivers, deli workers, and things of that nature. Like, you can't ignore that. Like, the competition that they played against wasn't enough for them to be ranked all-time status. I mean, the unrealistic things that they did, 11 championships for Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain averaging 50 points a game. But look who they were playing against. Come on now. And then another point I want to make is the best player in the NBA of the 1970s didn't even play in the NBA. The best player in the world, didn't even play in the NBA. Dr. J was the best player of the 1970s. And he didn't even play in the NBA. He played in the ABA. The ABA. Him, George Gervin, a bunch of other players that were considered top players in the world played in the ABA. They didn't even play in the NBA. So I'm supposed to rank players like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, when the best players in the world, half of the best players in the world weren't even playing in the NBA. They were playing in the ABA and other leagues.